there. My name is Michelle Christine. I am a stand-up comedian as a profession, but that's not where I thought I would find myself. I went to the University of Waterloo. Any Waterloo grads here? Yeah, sweet. And I did an undergrad in environmental studies and business, and I met a guy named Mo in university. And Mo was a very driven guy. I knew he was going to go places. And when I graduated university, do you guys kind of have that feeling where you used to have this giant group of friends that you would hang around and the weekends were always fun, and then suddenly it's all gone? And I wanted to replicate that a little bit. And so Mo had gone to Italy to do his master's. And I thought, well, maybe I should go to Europe when I graduate, maybe learn how to speak French. So I booked myself a ticket to go to France for 3 months to visit my friend Cécile Tachant. I did an exchange when I was 16 years old, and I met Cécile in France. And so 3 years later, I saw her again in Mexico when she was doing an exchange there to learn Spanish. And then 3 years later again, I'm 22 years old, visiting her after I graduated. It was just a little 3-year cycle we had going on. And while I was there, I was like, oh, I'm very close to Mo in Italy. Why not buy a cheap, kind of like Ryanair ticket to go visit him? And when you buy these cheap tickets, one of the caveats is that it's not quite, like you're not quite landing exactly where you want to stay. So I had to kind of go an hour outside of Paris, catch a plane, land in Milan, and then take a bus or train to Turin. Has anyone been to Turin, Italy? Torino? Yeah, it's a cool little place. Yeah, they did the Winter Olympics there. It's a very, very cool place. So I'm being like so audience interactive. I'm kind of used to that with stand-up. But anyways, so I get on this train, and I sit down, and I see this beautiful woman kind of a bit across from me. And then this guy starts kind of pacing up and down the hall. And he stops and he stares at her for a while, and then he keeps walking. And she kind of looks at me like, are you noticing what this guy is doing? And he keeps walking back and forth, and he has this scent to him that he's, maybe spent a little bit too much time not showering or something like that. And then she gets up, and she moves and sits across from me. And we start talking, and she's like, well, did you notice that guy? And I was like, yeah, I did. And she's like, oh man, like, do you mind just kind of talking with me on the train? I was like, of course, absolutely. So we're talking in English, yet we're in Italy, and she looks Brazilian, so everything wasn't really making sense, but she was there on an exchange herself doing her PhD in architecture. She was a very smart, brilliant lady. But the fact that we were speaking English to each other on this Italian train, I think that this guy thought that we were tourists. So he keeps kind of going back and forth, and then he sits down and he stares at us, and then we finally get into Turin, and we get off the train, and he comes up to us, and he says, oh, I know the exit of this train station. Would you like to follow me? And the girl grabs my arm and was like, that leads to a dead-end alleyway. You come with me. And I was like, okay. And I was very glad that this girl that I'd never met before in my life, like we were each other's protector, and just knowing her, like she thought she was a tourist, but she wasn't actually. She lived there, she spoke Italian, she knew her way around the train station, and she left me her phone number, and she's like, I want to know that you got to your friends safely, and maybe we can hang out while you're in Turin. And I thought, well, that's really nice of this strange girl that I just met who kind of saved me from going down this alleyway with this random stranger on the train. And then I go see Mo, and it's a lot of fun. And we go out and we have like a good time, and then we end up going out with this girl as well. And when it's time for me to go back to Paris, I get on the train. The train was it left at about midnight, and I needed to catch the shuttle at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh, what am I going to do with a 4-hour, wait at this train station waiting for my shuttle to take me to the airport? And I was like, well, whatever, this is the last train that leaves Turin. And I get on the train, and I see across from me this young Asian man, and I just sit there, and then something comes on the screen in the train, and it says, 15 minutes delay. I was like, okay, 15 minutes, that's nothing. 15 minutes goes by, then it says 30-minute delay. I was like, okay. Then it says an hour, and then it says indefinitely. And I was like, oh my God, and I don't speak Italian, and so I go up to this Asian guy on the train, hoping he somehow speaks English, and he does. Thank goodness everyone speaks English, I think. It's like the most common second language for most people, and I guess there's a reason for it. But so we start talking, and I was like, what's happening? And he said, he was listening to the kind of announcements, that someone had been found dead in the train station and everything was shut down. And I'm panicking, like I'm here, I'm by myself, I'm 22 years old, I need to catch this shuttle to take me to the airport back to Cecile, and I don't know what to do. So he lets me text my friend, and my friend's like, well, just meet me outside, we'll figure something out. So I get off the train and I go, it's all dark in the train station, and I go to one of the exits and it's locked. I was like, what the heck? And then this police officer comes by and starts yelling at me in Italian. And I think, why have I gone outside by myself? And there's probably a murder investigation going on. What have I done? Anyway, so in our broken communication, he tells me to get back on the train. So I get back on the train, and I'm sitting here with this guy who's filling me in on all the announcements, helping to keep me calm because I'm kind of panicking. But he's not in a rush. I'm the one that has the shuttle to catch. So he says, well, why don't you take out your camera and show me some pictures? And I was like, okay. And that kind of calmed me down. It was pictures of me and my boyfriend. It was pictures of me traveling. It was pictures of, my family at Christmas time. And he just sat and talked with me, and he translated everything in Italian to me so that I knew what was going on. And for about 3 hours, we were stuck there together. And just as it came to 4 o'clock in the morning, where I have basically an hour to catch this shuttle, and the train ride takes an hour, I hear the engine roar, and we start moving at a breakneck pace. And I get to the train station at 4:45 in the morning. I have 15 minutes to get to my shuttle, and I make it with 5 minutes to spare. And I was like, wow, this is so amazing. But what I thought was so amazing were the random people that I had met in Italy, a girl saving me from going down an alleyway with this strange man, and this other guy who kept me calm on a train while this person had been found dead. It was all crazy. It turns out it was actually a homeless person who had passed away on one of the benches in the train station, and they figured it had been from natural causes. And then a few years go by, and him and this Asian fellow and myself, his name was Kai, he messages me on Facebook. And he says, hi, I have a question for you. And I was like, what? He's like, well, I'm trying to get into a PhD program in McGill. Would you mind reading over what I have to submit and editing it for grammar? And I was like, well, sure, of course. You're like, I owe you something for keeping me calm when I was panicking. And it was for like a physics, mathematical type PhD. And the scary thing is, like, I barely knew what it meant to say, even though it wasn't English. Do you know what I mean? It was really high level stuff. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. But I went through it like word by word, sentence by sentence, trying so carefully to change the sentences, not so that it would change the meaning, but that just it would flow a little bit better. And I was afraid because this was such different type of English that I'm not used to, almost like the way that computer programmers program things. It's English, but not quite, right? So I slowly go through it, and I spend about 6 hours on it because I really want to make sure that I do it right, and I send it back to him. And a few months later, he sends me a message saying that he got into McGill. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so I think the world is so crazy. There's so much like serendipity in the world. And sometimes when strangers are kind to you, you never know when a few years later, you get the chance to return the favor. Thank you so much. I've been Michelle Christine.